All right, this is 10.1 day 2. These are still by factoring, but there's a little wrinkle to some of these that we want to just kind of make sure you feel comfortable with. The first one has already been factored out, but it has this 7 in front of it. And what we want to make sure you understand is that that 7, while there, doesn't really add any solutions. 7 by itself cannot equal 0, and so it's not going to give us a solution. What only can give us solutions are terms that have x's in it. So if x minus 3 equals 0 or x minus 10 equals 0, then we're in business. But 7 by itself can never equal 0. So we set those two up. Either x minus 3, that factor was 0, or x minus 10 was 0. And so if I add 3, I get x equal 3. And if I add 10, I get x equal to 10. Okay? On number 2, it's similar. We're going to pull that 5 out first. We're going to have x squared plus 6x plus 8. And then we're going to factor this. And so I'm looking for two numbers that multiply to equal 8 and add to equal 6. And so soon enough, we'd come up with 4 and 2. 4 times 2 is 8. 4 plus 2 is 6. Now, again, this 5 doesn't add a solution. It's just sitting there. Okay? The only things that could give us solutions are these x terms. So either x plus 4 equals 0 or x plus 2 equals 0. So that means x could equal negative 4 or it could equal negative 2. Okay? So if you pull a term out front, that's fine. Factor what's left over, but then that term will not be a solution. So don't write x equal 5 or x equal negative 5. There is no x term here. Again, if you were to write something like that and try to plug it back in, it wouldn't work for you. All right. Number 3, we have two terms subtracting. So right away I'm thinking of a difference of squares. 9x squared is 3x times 3x. 16 is 4 times 4. So one of these is plus and one of these is minus. Okay, now the wrinkle on this one is when we set those equal to 0, it's not just as simple as a one-step thing. We have to, in this case, subtract 4 and then divide by 3. We end up with x equal to negative 4/3. So that's a little unusual, not like the other ones we saw, but that's kind of how we navigate there. And in this one, we're going to add 4. Divide by 3, we get x equal to 4/3. And so those are our two answers. So again, when you got something in front like that, it's going to just give you an extra step in the solving. Not a big deal, but something to kind of be aware of. Okay. Now number 4 is one of the ones that gets missed the most often because people see two terms subtracting, so they try to do a difference of squares like we did here, or they try to do it like the one that was above here. And the reality is they miss what's happening is these terms are both divisible by 3 and they both have an x in them. We can pull that x out and what's left over is x minus 5. Okay? So now we still have two things multiplying to equal 0. So either 3x equals 0 or x minus 5 equals 0. And if we divide by 3 here, we get x equals 0, or if I add 5, x equals 5. Now, while that looks simple from what I just did, again, that's one of the most missed problems that I'll have. People just won't see that factor being pulled out and x being one of the possibilities there. All right, so you gotta be real careful with stuff like that. For number 7, the key here, while this looks simple enough, you see that we're not equal to 0 to start with, and that's the key. You gotta be equal to 0 before you go here. So we're going to subtract 14 and get x squared minus x minus 30 equal to 0. Then we think about two numbers that multiply equal negative 30 and add to equal negative 1. And those numbers are negative 6 and positive 5. And so either x minus 6 equals 0 or x plus 5 equals 0. Okay, so that means x could equal, add 6 to both sides, positive 6. Or subtract 5, x could equal negative 5. All right. Those are our two choices. And so this one's the same idea. We're going to subtract 20 from both sides. We get x squared minus 17x minus 60 equal to 0. This one may take a little bit longer to come up with the two numbers. You think of 6 and 10, but that's not going to get you to 17. 60 and 1 for sure doesn't. Hopefully 20 and 3 kind of come to you sooner than later and we get x minus 20, x plus 3. Negative 20 times 3 is negative 60. Negative 20 plus 3 is negative 17. So that means x minus 20 could equal 0, or x plus 3 could equal 0. And that's going to give us x equal to 20, or x equals negative 3. And those are our two possibilities there. So again, worksheet isn't too bad, but definitely a step up from yesterday's worksheet. And our quiz on Friday might have one of these and two of the others, something like that. So you want to make sure you're kind of familiar with this and feel okay on it.